The camera drifts slowly into a thicket of emerald foliage, the frame filled with leaves that overlap in tiers of green, each one casting shadows onto the next. The air is still, broken only by the occasional sway of a branch responding to a faint current of wind. For a moment, the viewer's eye traces the veins of a particular leaf, following its delicate architecture until a twitch breaks the illusion. What seemed like a motionless leaf shifts almost imperceptibly, its edges trembling with the breeze. Then, astonishingly, it blinks. The subject is revealed, a leaf insect, the master of mimicry, existing not merely among leaves but as one of them. Leaf insects belong to the family Phyllidae, a lineage that has perfected disguise to such a degree that even the most vigilant predator hesitates to trust its own senses. The insect's body is flattened and broad, its cuticles sculpted into lobes that resemble torn edges, nibbled margins, or fungal scars commonly found on real foliage. Along the wings and thorax run intricate vein-like patterns that mirror the venation of leaves, complete with branching tributaries that seem drawn from the very blueprint of a plant. This camouflage is not decoration, but survival, honed through millions of years of evolutionary trial. To understand the brilliance of this adaptation, one must enter the mind, or rather the eyes, of its predators. Birds, among the leaf insect's most persistent hunters, do not perceive the world as humans do. Many rely heavily on motion detection, scanning dense greenery not for still forms but for the sudden flicker of a moving insect. A butterfly in flight, a beetle crawling against the grain of bark. These are betrayals that signal food. Yet the leaf insect has evolved a countermeasure, a trademark rocking walk. Instead of moving in straight, purposeful strides, it sways gently side to side, imitating the irregular rhythm of a leaf disturbed by wind. When it freezes, it does so in perfect synchrony with surrounding vegetation. To the sharp eyes of a bird, the insect becomes not an anomaly, but part of the expected background. This strategy reveals a deeper truth about camouflage. Pure stillness alone is insufficient. The natural world is rarely motionless. Leaves flutter, branches shiver, and grasses bow. A perfectly still insect may paradoxically stand out, a rigid shape in a dynamic world. By adopting micromotions that echo its environment, the leaf insect surpasses static disguise and enters the realm of dynamic mimicry. It is not only the appearance of a leaf, but the performance of one. Yet the arms race between predator and prey is relentless. Over generations, birds and lizards learn, through bitter mistakes and occasional success, to pierce the illusion. They begin to notice discrepancies. Perhaps the slight gloss of the insect's cuticle differs from the matte surface of a true leaf, or the way its shadow falls reveals bulk where there should be thinness. In response, leaf insects have refined their disguise even further. Many species bear markings that simulate damage, irregular tears along the wing margins, or spots that resemble fungal infections. Such imperfections are, paradoxically, signs of authenticity. A flawless leaf may appear artificial, while one marked by blemishes convinces the predator that it is genuine plant tissue not worth a second glance. The strategy works not only through deception, but through economy. Every animal balances energy spent with energy conserved, and for the leaf insect, hiding represents a profound efficiency. Flight is metabolically expensive, fleeing risks exposure to multiple predators. Remaining unseen demands only patience. By investing in disguise, the insect reduces the need for escape. It is a calculation embedded in its biology. The calories saved by remaining undetected far outweigh the rare necessity of desperate flight. Still, the system is not without emergency measures. When the illusion collapses and the insect is discovered, a sudden transformation occurs. In a burst of movement, the leaf insect flashes its hind wings, often brightly colored in contrast to its leafy front. This startled display is brief but disorienting, buying crucial seconds. Then, with legs folded, it drops like a dead leaf, spiraling erratically toward the forest floor. The fall is not clumsy but tactical. Predators accustomed to pursuing flying prey may hesitate when their target appears suddenly lifeless, fluttering like detritus. On the ground, the insect freezes again, resuming its vegetal masquerade among the leaf litter. Ecologically, the presence of leaf insects underscores the intricate dialogue between form and function in tropical forests. Their mimicry does not exist in isolation, but in concert with the diversity of vegetation that surrounds them. A leaf insect in a deciduous forest might bear broad-lobed shapes, while in regions dominated by narrow foliage, species evolve slimmer profiles. This localized adaptation highlights the precision of natural selection, fine-tuning camouflage to specific ecological backdrops. Each lineage represents a negotiation with its environment, a living record of predator pressure and vegetative diversity. The insect's life cycle further reflects the power of disguise. Eggs, often resembling seeds or plant debris, are dropped casually onto the forest floor, where their appearance prevents detection by ants or parasitoid wasps. Nymphs hatch already resembling miniature leaves, though their colors may shift across developmental stages, from reddish-brown resembling young shoots to vibrant green adulthood. Such ontogenetic changes mirror the natural progression of leaves themselves, allowing juveniles to blend with early growth before transitioning to mature foliage. Interestingly, not all leaf insects are identical in their strategies. Some species emphasize broad wings with exaggerated lobes, while others develop cryptic browns that resemble dried, withered leaves. This diversity of design suggests that mimicry is not a singular solution, but a spectrum of answers to different ecological contexts. It also raises a subtle irony. While humans marvel at the beauty of these adaptations, to the insect itself, beauty is irrelevant. What matters is credibility, how well the disguise convinces an enemy that it is unworthy of pursuit. Predators that occasionally succeed in capturing leaf insects contribute to maintaining this evolutionary dialogue. A bird that consumes one despite its disguise exerts pressure on the population, ensuring only the most convincing mimics survive to reproduce. Over countless generations, this selective sieve sharpens the disguise, creating insects that not only look like leaves, but embody their imperfections with uncanny precision. It is a form of biological artistry, yet one crafted not by intention but by survival. In considering the leaf insect, we confront a broader ecological lesson. Deception is as much a force of nature as strength or speed. The arms race of the forest is not fought only with fangs and claws, but with illusions. A predator may hone its senses, but prey may answer with subtler tricks, bending perception itself into a weapon. The leaf insect, with its blinking leaf body and rocking gait, demonstrates that survival does not always mean confronting danger head-on. Sometimes, the most effective strategy is to vanish from the narrative altogether, leaving predators searching empty branches for a meal that was never there. As the camera pulls back, the viewer is left with an image that seems indistinguishable from the vegetation. The leaf insect has resumed its stillness, no different from the hundreds of leaves that surround it. Only by knowing where to look does the deception unravel, and even then, the eyes strain against disbelief. In a world defined by constant struggle, the leaf insect thrives by becoming a part of the scenery. Its life a delicate balancing act between stillness and motion, presence and absence, existence and invisibility. The midday sun filters through a canopy of tangled branches, tracing latticed shadows across a quiet forest corridor. From above, the scene resembles a labyrinth of intersecting twigs, each casting its thin silhouette against the pale light. To the human eye, this tangle is nothing more than branches upon branches, a pattern of repetition so complete that vision begins to dull with familiarity. Yet somewhere among these lifeless stems waits an animal, every joint stiffened into stillness, every edge honed to match the wood around it. A stick insect rests in plain sight, exposed yet invisible, practicing a survival strategy as old as the forests themselves, the art of resembling what no predator would ever think to eat. The power of this disguise lies not simply in shape, but in conviction. A stick insect elongates its body into a rod-like frame, with legs extended parallel to the stem on which it rests. Its exoskeleton bears striations and irregularities that mimic the grain of bark, while color tones fluctuate between pale beige, earthy brown, and muted green depending on the species and habitat. Some individuals display tiny protuberances that resemble knots or broken stubs, while others bear smoother lines that imitate new shoots. In many cases, the deception is so complete that even after a sharp-eyed predator lands beside it, the insect remains unrecognized unless it betrays itself through movement. Predators such as birds and reptiles, which scan their surroundings for motion rather than form, are most easily deceived by stillness. The stick insect's response to danger is therefore an immediate freeze, locking every muscle in place. Unlike the leaf insect's swaying mimicry, which thrives in subtle movement, the stick insect specializes in absolute immobility. Hours may pass without the insect shifting more than a fraction of an inch, its patience far exceeding the attention span of most hunters. In this stillness, the insect weaponizes monotony, relying on the predator's urge to search elsewhere when nothing appears amiss. But there are moments when even perfect stillness is not enough. A sudden gust of wind may dislodge a perch, or a predator may strike with blind chance rather than certainty. In such encounters, the stick insect deploys a last line of defense, thanatosis, or death feigning. The body collapses limp, legs curling inward as though lifeless, and the insect falls to the ground with no attempt at resistance. For a predator programmed to chase movement and subdue struggling prey, this abrupt passivity disrupts the pursuit. The stick insect becomes an inert twig, scarcely worth the effort of inspection. This trick is not mere pretense, but a carefully tuned algorithm of survival. Many predators abandon food that does not behave as expected, conserving energy for livelier quarry. What appears as surrender is in truth a tactical reset, giving the insect another chance to vanish into the forest floor litter. As day gives way to night, the strategy of invisibility adapts once more. Stick insects are overwhelmingly nocturnal, emerging under the cover of darkness to feed on leaves. This rhythm of activity serves multiple purposes. Under moonlight, their long, angular bodies cast fewer recognizable silhouettes, and the reduced presence of diurnal birds lowers the intensity of predation. Nocturnal feeding also allows them to exploit cooler temperatures, slowing the metabolic costs of foraging while reducing water loss in environments prone to desiccation. During the day, they withdraw to stillness, merging seamlessly into branches. By night, they animate into cautious wanderers, nibbling carefully on foliage before retreating at the faintest sign of disturbance. Growth complicates this disguise, for as with all insects, stick insects must molt to expand. Across molts, subtle changes occur not only in size but also in coloration. Juveniles may adopt hues that resemble fresh shoots, paler greens or even reddish tinges, before darkening with age into woody browns more consistent with mature stems. This progression mirrors the life stages of the plants themselves, ensuring that at every developmental phase, the insect's disguise remains synchronized with its surroundings. In some species, color change is more flexible, shifting gradually in response to the dominant tones of the habitat, a rudimentary form of phenotypic plasticity that helps match the prevailing background. Perhaps one of the most extraordinary adaptations lies in reproduction, specifically in the structure of the eggs. A female stick insect does not construct elaborate nests nor guard her young with vigilance. Instead, she deposits eggs individually, dropping them casually onto the forest floor. To an untrained eye, each egg resembles nothing more than a seed, complete with a hardened shell that mirrors the shape and texture of plant detritus. What makes this mimicry even more sophisticated is the presence of a small cap-like structure called the capitulum. To ants, this capitulum resembles the nutritious appendage of genuine seeds, a structure known as an eleusum. Ants, mistaking the egg for food, carry it back to their underground nests. There, the capitulum may be eaten, but the egg itself remains intact, buried safely in the colony's refuse chambers. By accident, ants become unwitting guardians, providing the egg with shelter from predators and buffering it against environmental fluctuations. In time, the nymph hatches, crawling out of the ant colony and into the forest above, beginning its own life of mimicry. This interplay between insect and ant highlights the subtlety of ecological relationships. What appears as chance is in fact an evolutionary refinement. The insect exploits the sensory biases of another species to secure protection for its offspring. Though unintentional from the ant's perspective, the outcome benefits the stick insect profoundly, representing a survival strategy outsourced to another member of the ecosystem. On a microscopic level, the deception continues. Viewed through a macro lens, the surface of a stick insect's cuticle is not smooth, but textured with ridges, pits, and minute color variations. These microtextures scatter light in irregular patterns, reducing the gloss that might betray artificiality. When compared directly with bark under magnification, the resemblance becomes uncanny. The insect has not only borrowed the general form of a twig, but also replicated its surface physics, ensuring that even under close scrutiny, reflection and shadow conform to expectation. Despite their reliance on disguise, stick insects are not passive actors in the ecosystem. By consuming foliage, they contribute to the regulation of plant growth, influencing the dynamics of understory vegetation. Their droppings recycle nutrients back into the soil, feeding microbial communities and enriching the forest floor. In turn, they serve as prey for those predators capable of piercing the illusion: bats that use echolocation rather than vision, or rodents that rely on scent more than sight. Thus, their role is woven into the broader ecological tapestry, balancing consumption with vulnerability. The evolutionary endurance of stick insects is a testament to the effectiveness of their strategy. Fossil evidence suggests that similar forms existed tens of millions of years ago, indicating that the dead twig gambit has long been a winning approach. Yet this success does not render them invincible. Habitat loss and fragmentation reduce the availability of suitable branches for concealment, and invasive predators unfamiliar with their tricks may diminish populations. Their survival, like that of all specialized mimics, depends not only on their own adaptations, but also on the stability of the ecosystems that provide their stage. As the sun sets and shadows deepen, the forest's branch maze transforms once again. The twigs remain, but among them move creatures that are not what they seem. The stick insect continues its ancient performance, a living contradiction, both present and absent, fragile and resilient. It survives not by strength or speed, but by convincing the world that it does not exist at all. For the predator searching hungrily through the branches, it is a mouth with legs invisible until it is too late, an actor in a play staged entirely by evolution's hand. A glint of light draws the eye to a single leaf, where a coin of living gold lies pressed against the surface. At first glance, it seems like a droplet of molten metal, a mirror-bright jewel fallen from the canopy. Yet within seconds, the shimmer dissolves. The surface clears like glass, revealing pale translucence beneath. Then, as a shadow passes overhead, the form flushes with crimson, deepening into a ruby sheen that pulses with intensity. This is no mineral, no jewel, no artifact of human craft. It is an insect, the golden tortoise beetle, one of the most improbable illusionists of the natural world. The brilliance of its disguise does not come from pigment alone. Unlike the painted wings of a butterfly or the bright spots of a ladybird, the beetle's elytra, its hardened forewings, derive their colors from structural phenomena. Microscopic layers within the cuticle manipulate the path of light, bending and scattering wavelengths in a way that produces metallic reflection. These effects are often called structural colors, a principle seen also in peacock feathers or the iridescent carapaces of certain beetles. But the golden tortoise beetle takes this strategy further by adding a dynamic element. Within the layers of its cuticle are channels that regulate the flow of microscopic fluids. By altering the distribution of these fluids, the beetle can shift how light refracts across its surface, switching almost instantly between mirror-like gold, transparent glassiness, or a flush of red. This transformation is not frivolous. It is a survival tactic. In its gleaming gold form, the beetle resembles a dewdrop or even a fragment of metal, a passive reflection that deters attention. When threatened, however, the sudden collapse of gold into red confuses predators. Birds, with their sharp visual acuity, and mantises, with their rapid striking reflexes, both rely on consistency in prey appearance. A sudden hue flip interrupts their recognition algorithms, creating a crucial hesitation. That pause, often no more than a fraction of a second, can provide the beetle with its only chance to retreat into the tangle of leaves and vanish from the scene. To appreciate the beetle's performance, one must consider the battlefield upon which it lives. The golden tortoise beetle is intimately tied to plants of the morning glory family. Its larvae and adults feed on the foliage, navigating a world where every bite initiates a chemical dialogue. Morning glory leaves are not passive meals. They deploy latex, alkaloids, and other defensive compounds designed to deter herbivory. The beetle's ability to persist here speaks to its coevolution with these plants, a constant negotiation of offense and defense. By tolerating or bypassing the toxins, the beetle secures a relatively exclusive resource, reducing competition from less specialized insects. In turn, its host plants adjust their strategies, reinforcing chemical barriers or investing in new defensive pathways. It is a subtle war fought not with weapons of claw or fang, but with molecules and enzymes, each adjustment shaping the other across generations. The color-shifting ability of the beetle becomes more remarkable when placed in this ecological context. Feeding openly on exposed leaves would seem reckless for a small insect. Yet the beetle offsets this vulnerability with its dynamic disguise. Golden when undisturbed, it gleams like a harmless reflection, blending with sunlight and dew. When approached by danger, its ruby flush declares a warning, imitating the aposematic colors of toxic insects. The irony is that while the beetle does not wield potent toxins itself, its ability to mimic the signals of poisonous species may convince a predator to hesitate long enough for escape. In this way, it participates in a broader evolutionary pattern, the mimicry of warning signals, an ancient bluff that saves lives without requiring direct weaponry. The life cycle of the golden tortoise beetle is no less complex. Larvae hatch as inconspicuous feeders, but unlike the smooth adults, they are covered with spines and carry a remarkable defensive contraption known as a fecal shield. Using specialized structures at the tip of the abdomen, the larva collects its own droppings and exuviae, stacking them into a movable shield held overhead. To a predator, the sight of such a foul-smelling irregular mass is enough to deter attack. Ants, in particular, often avoid engaging these larvae, mistaking the shield for decaying matter or fungal debris. Thus, even at an early stage, the beetle relies not on aggression but on illusion, persuading enemies that it is either inedible or unworthy of effort. When these larvae pupate and transform into adults, their reliance on deception only intensifies. The shift to structural color represents a profound change in strategy, moving from physical disguise to optical manipulation. In either stage, however, the message is consistent: survival through trickery. The beetle does not outfight its predators, nor does it outrun them. Instead, it manipulates perception itself, turning the rules of sensory biology into a weapon. The camera, lingering in close detail, reveals the smooth, convex surface of the beetle's shell, where reflections of sky and foliage ripple like liquid metal. At the microscopic level, the interplay of cuticle layers and fluid channels resembles the shifting of panes in a kaleidoscope. Scientists studying these insects have drawn analogies to microfluidic devices in engineering, where channels only micrometers wide control the passage of liquids for precise effects. Nature achieved this engineering marvel long before humans recognized its potential. In the beetle, the manipulation is rapid, reversible, and efficient, an elegant design forged by countless generations of evolutionary pressure. Yet even with such brilliance, the golden tortoise beetle remains vulnerable. Specialized parasitoid wasps, guided by chemical cues rather than sight, can penetrate its illusions. For these hunters, the beetle's mirrored gold offers no protection, as they locate hosts by scent or vibration. This reminds us that no survival strategy is universal. Every adaptation is context-dependent, successful only against certain enemies and within certain environments. What dazzles a bird may leave a wasp unimpressed. Evolution does not create perfection, but compromises, balancing strengths against weaknesses in the endless cycle of adaptation. On the broader stage of the ecosystem, the beetle's role is more than decorative. By feeding on morning glory leaves, it participates in the regulation of plant populations, shaping which vines dominate in a patch of habitat. The damage it inflicts on leaves may in turn influence pollinator dynamics, as stressed plants alter their flowering schedules or nectar output. Thus, the beetle's presence ripples outward through multiple layers of ecological interaction, connecting herbivory to plant chemistry to pollination, and pollination to the broader community of insects and birds. As dawn breaks across the forest and sunlight spills over fresh foliage, a new generation of beetles glimmers into activity. Some rest in golden stillness, catching the light as though made of hammered metal. Others, disturbed by the shadow of passing predators, flash crimson before slipping into obscurity. In every transformation lies the story of survival not by force, but by illusion. The golden tortoise beetle thrives because it has learned to master the physics of light, weaving invisibility and mimicry into a seamless performance. When we look upon its mirrored shell, we are seeing not merely an insect, but a living lens, a window into the ingenuity of evolution. Its brilliance reflects the ingenuity of natural selection, where survival is as much about deceiving the eye as it is about resisting the bite. On a leaf in a quiet patch of forest, a beetle that masquerades as gold, glass, and ruby all at once continues its quiet existence, teaching us that in nature, even the smallest creatures can manipulate the grandest illusions. The camera descends into a meadow at dawn, where light pools across a patchwork of wildflowers. At the center of this stage stands a cluster of milkweed plants, their tall stems crowned with umbels of pink and orange blossoms. They are not passive ornaments, but chemical fortresses, armed with latex canals that bleed sticky white fluid at the slightest wound. This latex contains potent toxins, cardenolides, that sabotage the cellular machinery of most animals. For many insects, a single bite can clog mouthparts, immobilize jaws, or disrupt heart function. Yet moving steadily along the edge of a leaf is a monarch caterpillar, striped in yellow, white, and black, undeterred by the plant's defenses. It chews not randomly but with precision, severing a vein near the leaf's base before settling to feed. By cutting this vein, it reduces the pressure that drives the latex canals. The sticky flood subsides, and the caterpillar dines safely. This act, called vein cutting, is not instinctive fumbling but an evolved behavior, a survival tactic tailored specifically to breach milkweed's defenses. The relationship between monarch and milkweed is a perfect example of coevolution's tug-of-war. Plants evolve toxins and mechanical defenses to discourage herbivory. Insects evolve countermeasures to exploit them nonetheless. Monarchs have not only learned to feed despite milkweed's toxicity, but have turned those very toxins into an ally. As the caterpillar digests the leaf, it absorbs cardenolides into its tissues, storing them without succumbing to their effects. These compounds become chemical armor, persisting even through metamorphosis. When the caterpillar transforms into a butterfly, the adult emerges bearing the same toxic shield. Bright orange wings marked with black veins broadcast this fact with unapologetic clarity. This coloration is not decorative but aposematic, a warning flag to potential predators. Do not eat me, for I am bitter, poisonous, and unforgettable. The strategy hinges on education. For a predator such as a bird, recognition comes not from instinct but experience. A young bird, testing the boundaries of its environment, may snatch a monarch in its beak. At the first taste, its tongue burns with bitterness. Nausea follows swiftly, a visceral lesson that links the orange and black pattern with danger. The bird may survive the encounter, but the memory is permanent. For the rest of its life, it avoids not only monarchs, but often any butterfly that bears similar coloration. Thus, monarchs benefit from the sacrifice of a few individuals, those unlucky enough to serve as teachers in this school of survival. The reward is generational protection. Predators that have once tasted their chemical cocktail rarely make the mistake again. Yet the monarch's story extends far beyond the confines of a single meadow. Its survival strategy is not only chemical but geographic, played out across continents and climates. Monarch butterflies are among the few insects known for long-distance migration, traveling thousands of miles in patterns that rival the great journeys of birds. In North America, monarchs born in late summer embark on a southward trek, leaving the cooling northern landscapes behind. Their destination is not random but precise, the mountain forests of central Mexico, where fir and oyamel trees provide the cool, stable microclimate necessary for their overwintering. There, millions of butterflies cluster together in dense colonies, blanketing trunks and branches in living drapery. The mechanics of this migration are astonishing. Monarchs are fragile creatures, their bodies weighing less than a paperclip, their wings as thin as parchment. To travel such distances, they rely on several adaptations. Their bodies are ultra-light, reducing the cost of flight, while stored fat reserves, accumulated during their caterpillar stage and reinforced by nectar feeding, provide the energy for long journeys. Their flight is not a constant flutter, but an efficient glide, harnessing thermal updrafts to extend each beat of their wings. More remarkable still is their ability to navigate. Monarchs orient themselves using the position of the sun, adjusting their internal circadian clocks to compensate for its movement across the sky. Evidence also suggests that they sense Earth's magnetic field, giving them a geomagnetic compass that remains functional even on overcast days. Together, these mechanisms guide them across an entire continent with remarkable accuracy. Not every monarch completes this journey. Many succumb to storms, predators, or exhaustion. Yet those that reach the mountain sanctuaries form the backbone of a multi-generational relay. When spring arrives, they begin the northward journey, but do not return alone. Along the way, they breed, lay eggs on fresh milkweed, and die. Their offspring continue the migration, repeating the cycle over successive generations until the northern habitats are once again repopulated. This phenomenon creates a chain of survival stretching across time and geography, where no single butterfly completes the circuit, yet the lineage persists in perpetual motion. The monarch's ecological role radiates beyond its personal story. By feeding on milkweed, monarch caterpillars regulate plant growth, shaping the composition of meadows and edge habitats. Their nectar feeding as adults contributes to pollination networks, sustaining plant diversity and supporting other organisms. At the same time, their toxicity ripples through the food web, shaping predator behavior and influencing which species thrive in their presence. Even in death, monarchs contribute nutrients to the soil, their bodies decomposing to feed microbial life. Thus, the monarch is not merely a butterfly, but a participant in the complex choreography of ecosystems. Despite this resilience, monarch populations face new challenges. Habitat loss has reduced the availability of milkweed across much of their range, depriving caterpillars of their only host plant. Agricultural practices, urban development, and herbicide use all contribute to this decline. Climate change further complicates their survival, altering the timing of milkweed growth, disrupting migration queues, and threatening the delicate microclimates of their overwintering sites. The monarch's remarkable journey, once a reliable cycle, is increasingly precarious. Conservation efforts now seek to restore milkweed corridors, protect overwintering forests, and raise awareness of the butterfly's plight. The monarch's survival is not only an ecological question, but a cultural one, as its migration has become a symbol of interconnectedness across borders and nations. Returning to the meadow, the camera lingers again on a milkweed leaf. A caterpillar moves deliberately along the margin, pausing to sever another vein before feeding. Its stripes are not random decoration, but evolutionary advertisement, a preview of the warning colors it will wear as an adult. Nearby, an adult monarch flutters past, its orange wings luminous against the blue sky. For a moment, the cycle is complete. The thief who stole poison from the plant now flies openly, displaying its ill-gotten toxins to the world as a flag of survival. The message is simple, written in color across delicate wings: danger resides here. Predators heed the warning, and the monarch continues its ancient journey, carried not only by wind and muscle, but by the enduring logic of adaptation. The storm arrives without warning. Rain lashes against the forest floor, rivers swell beyond their banks, and within hours the landscape is transformed into a churning floodplain. Small mammals scramble to higher ground, insects cling desperately to stems and bark, and yet beneath the rising water a colony of fire ants begins its most extraordinary maneuver. As the soil collapses into liquid mud, the ants surge from their tunnels, not in panic but in coordination. Within minutes, thousands of bodies knit together into a living raft, a structure both flexible and resilient, rising with the water as though it had been designed for this very moment. What, to the untrained eye, appears as a writhing mass of insects is in fact a carefully engineered survival machine, the product of physics, chemistry, and collective intelligence. At the level of the individual, each fire ant is unremarkable, small, reddish, and armed with the stinger that gives the group its name. But when united, they become something greater than the sum of their parts. The raft is constructed through the interlocking of tarsal claws and mandibles, each ant gripping its neighbor to form a waterproof mesh. Their exoskeletons, coated in a waxy cuticle, repel water, ensuring that the raft remains buoyant. Even when submerged briefly by waves or splashes, air bubbles cling to the bodies, restoring buoyancy and allowing the colony to survive for weeks afloat if necessary. The queen and brood are protected at the center, while workers on the periphery rotate positions to share the risks of predation and drowning. This is survival through architecture, an emergent structure built not from stone or wood, but from living flesh. What drives such seamless cooperation is not central command, but chemical conversation. Fire ants rely on pheromones, chemical signals that transmit instructions more efficiently than any spoken language. Trails are laid by workers returning from food, leaving behind a chemical highway that others follow with uncanny precision. Alarm pheromones, released when an ant is crushed or attacked, trigger instant aggression, summoning nearby workers to the source of disturbance. Other compounds act as repellents, spacers, or markers of territory. The result is a society guided not by vision or sound, but by an invisible map of sense, refreshed and rewritten constantly with each passing moment. To walk through a fire ant colony is to move inside a living cloud of chemical instructions, every member updated with the latest collective decision. But pheromones are only one tool in the fire ant arsenal. Their true reputation comes from the venom carried in their stingers, a cocktail of alkaloids known as solanopsins. When injected into flesh, these compounds create a burning sensation so intense that it gave the ants their fiery name. The venom is both insecticidal and bactericidal, allowing the ants not only to defend against predators, but also to sanitize captured prey, reducing the risk of infection within the colony. Against vertebrates, the venom is particularly effective, painful enough to deter repeated attacks, yet rarely lethal. A single sting may not incapacitate, but the synchronized assault of hundreds can overwhelm even large animals, leaving them retreating in panic. The doctrine of attack is as remarkable as the raft of survival. When a prey item stumbles into the foraging zone, the first ant to strike latches on with its mandibles and releases alarm pheromones, summoning reinforcements within seconds. Others arrive, climbing the body in coordinated waves, stinging simultaneously to maximize effect. Unlike solitary predators, fire ants rely on overwhelming force, their power not in the strength of one, but in the swarming of many. Within minutes, prey many times their size is subdued, torn apart, and carried back in pieces to the colony. Efficiency is paramount. Proteins feed larvae, sugars sustain adults, and fats are stored in brood chambers. Nothing is wasted, not even the shells of insect victims, which become part of the debris that reinforces tunnel walls underground. Yet for all their violence, fire ants are not mere marauders. Their colonies are structured civilizations, with division of labor that rivals the complexity of vertebrate societies. Workers are divided by age and role. Young ants tend to the brood and queen, middle-aged ants maintain tunnels and defend entrances, while older ants, nearing the end of their lifespan, take on the most dangerous tasks of foraging and combat. The queen, often the size of several workers combined, devotes her life solely to reproduction, laying thousands of eggs that ensure the colony's persistence. Her pheromones suppress the reproductive potential of others, maintaining social order. Without her, the colony collapses within weeks, a reminder that even the fiercest society rests on a fragile foundation. Ecologically, fire ants are siege engineers not only of their own survival, but of the landscapes they invade. Native to South America, they have spread globally through human commerce, establishing colonies in North America, Australia, and parts of Asia. Their arrival disrupts local ecosystems as they outcompete native ants, decimate ground-nesting birds, and prey on a wide range of invertebrates. Fields once buzzing with diverse insect life become monocultures of fire ants, their dominance enforced through venom and swarm tactics. Yet even in their invasive role, they reshape the food web, becoming prey themselves to specialized phorid flies that decapitate them, or to pathogens that exploit their dense living conditions. Every triumph invites a counterbalance. Even siege engineers cannot escape the laws of ecology. On the ground, the camera lingers on a foraging trail. Hundreds of ants march in perfect lines, carrying fragments of leaves, beetles, and even the corpse of a lizard hatchling. The trail hums with purpose, a river of living bodies converging toward the nest. Here at the mound's entrance, soil pellets are carefully arranged to regulate temperature and ventilation. The mound is not a random heap, but a breathing structure, designed to channel airflow and dissipate heat. Within its depths lies a labyrinth of chambers, each with specific functions: nurseries for larvae, storage for food, resting places for workers. The architecture extends both above and below ground, adjusting constantly to changes in weather and season. Just as they form rafts in floods, they rebuild mounds after storms, their engineering flexible and relentless. The broader lesson of fire ants is not only their ferocity, but their capacity for resilience. Flood, fire, drought, or human intervention, all are met with rapid adaptation. Colonies destroyed in one place reappear in another, spread through mating flights where winged queens and males rise into the air, mate, and disperse. A single queen, fertilized once, can establish a new colony miles away, producing tens of thousands of workers over her lifespan. In this sense, fire ants embody persistence itself, conquering landscapes not through elegance or stealth, but through sheer numbers, coordination, and unyielding determination. As the floodwaters recede, the raft drifts to a patch of dry land. The ants disassemble with the same precision with which they assembled, returning to the business of excavation and foraging. To an outside observer, it seems miraculous that so many tiny creatures could survive such catastrophe. Yet for fire ants, this is routine, an expected chapter in the cycle of life. Their strength lies not in individual brilliance, but in collective endurance, a survival strategy written not in solitary acts, but in the synchronized movements of thousands. They are, in every sense, siege engineers, capable of defending, invading, building and rebuilding in a world that is always shifting beneath them. The rainforest seems calm at first glance. Beneath the dense canopy, shafts of sunlight filter through broad leaves, illuminating a floor damp with fallen vegetation. Cicadas hum in the distance, and the occasional call of a bird echoes through the understory. Then, as a hand brushes against the rough surface of a vine, the illusion of tranquility is shattered. From the vine's surface, a single ant launches upward, its mandibles snapping shut as it arches its abdomen. The sting lands with surgical precision. What follows is not the fleeting irritation of a mosquito or the fleeting burn of a wasp. It is a pain so intense that it has been described as akin to walking across flaming coals with a rusty nail embedded in the foot. This is the work of the bullet ant, Paraponera clavata, a creature whose weaponry has earned it the highest rank on the Schmidt Pain Index, crowning it as the most painful sting in the insect world. The potency of this sting lies in a unique venom cocktail, the most infamous component of which is ponerotoxin, a peptide toxin that acts on the nervous system. Unlike venoms that cause tissue damage or blood clotting, ponerotoxin targets ion channels in nerve cells, disrupting the electrical signaling that carries messages from one part of the body to another. The result is not immediate incapacitation, but the amplification of pain perception, a neurological overload that radiates through muscle and joint. Victims report waves of agony that last for hours, accompanied by trembling, nausea, and disorientation. This is pain not as a side effect of defense, but as the very essence of it. The message is unmistakable. Approach me and you will suffer consequences far greater than my size suggests. The evolutionary advantage of such a strategy is clear. For most small insects, defense relies on avoiding notice through camouflage or overwhelming enemies with sheer numbers. The bullet ant takes the opposite approach. Its sting is so excruciating that predators who experience it once rarely attempt to attack again. A tamarin monkey, a curious coati, or even a human who stumbles upon a nest learns swiftly and definitively that these ants are not worth the risk. Pain, in this case, is not just deterrence, but education, a lesson imprinted into the nervous system of any would-be predator. By inflicting suffering beyond proportion, the bullet ant ensures that encounters with it are not repeated. Despite their terrifying reputation, bullet ants are not mindless aggressors. They are hunters, but solitary ones. Unlike army ants or fire ants, they do not swarm their prey in coordinated waves. Instead, a worker forages alone, moving deliberately along vines, trunks, and leaf litter. Their diet is varied, consisting of other insects, small arthropods, nectar, and plant secretions. Their powerful mandibles capture prey, while the sting is reserved for defense or for subduing particularly resistant victims. Solitary hunting reduces competition within the colony and allows them to exploit a wide range of food sources spread thinly across the rainforest floor. The colony itself, however, is a fortress of cooperation. Nests are built at the base of trees or within rotting logs, sometimes extending into subterranean chambers. Colonies may contain several hundred workers, a modest number compared to the tens of thousands in fire ant societies, but formidable when their weaponry is considered. Within this social structure, workers perform familiar roles, tending to larvae, feeding the queen, and defending the nest. What sets bullet ants apart is their defensive doctrine. When threatened, the first wave of ants releases alarm pheromones, sharp bursts of chemical signals that spread rapidly through the colony. In seconds, workers pour out of the nest entrance, mandibles spread and stingers primed, ready to repel intruders many times their size. Unlike their solitary hunting behavior, their defense is collective and unyielding. Trail marking is another essential part of their strategy. Foragers lay chemical tracks that guide others to food sources, creating efficient supply lines from the nest to distant trees or vines. These trails are not static but dynamic, reinforced when food is plentiful and abandoned when resources diminish. The efficiency of this chemical mapping ensures that colonies can exploit patches of nectar, fruit, or insect prey quickly before competitors arrive. While their numbers may be smaller than those of other social insects, their coordination allows them to thrive in habitats dense with rivals. The bullet ant's role in its ecosystem is not limited to predation and defense. By foraging widely, they contribute to seed dispersal, carrying plant material back to the nest and inadvertently distributing fragments across the forest. Their tunnels aerate the soil, influencing water infiltration and nutrient cycling. Predators that specialize in ants, such as anteaters and certain birds, rely on them as a food source, though often at painful cost. Thus, they form part of the intricate balance of rainforest life, simultaneously feared and necessary. Beyond the natural world, bullet ants have also carved a place in human culture, particularly among indigenous groups of the Amazon. Among the Satere-Mawe people of Brazil, the sting of the bullet ant plays a role in initiation rituals. Boys seeking to prove their strength and endurance wear gloves woven with live bullet ants, enduring dozens of stings over extended periods. The pain is excruciating, yet the ritual symbolizes resilience, discipline, and the transition to adulthood. This practice, carried out with reverence, illustrates how even the most formidable defenses of the natural world become woven into human tradition, serving purposes that extend beyond biology into the realm of meaning and identity. The irony of the bullet ant is that, for all its notoriety, it is rarely fatal. Its sting incapacitates but does not kill, disabling larger animals only long enough to drive them away. Evolution has shaped this balance carefully. A venom that killed indiscriminately would invite retaliation from larger animals and perhaps the destruction of nests. Pain, however, is a more efficient deterrent. It lingers in memory, spreads caution through predator populations, and allows the ants to avoid unnecessary conflict. The sting is a deterrent strategy perfected by natural selection, a weapon that trades lethality for influence over behavior. The rainforest is full of dangers, from predatory cats to venomous snakes, yet few encounters are remembered so vividly as that with the bullet ant. It exemplifies a different kind of power, the ability to change behavior through the sheer intensity of sensation. In the quiet moments after an attack, the forest may return to its usual hum, but for the creature that experienced the sting, the memory becomes permanent. To survive in such a place is not only to endure claws and teeth, but also to reckon with a small ant that enforces respect through agony. As the camera pans across the base of a massive tree, a line of bullet ants moves steadily along a vine. They do not rush, nor do they hide. Their confidence is not arrogance, but certainty, born of a weapon so effective that it allows them to walk the forest floor with impunity. For predators and humans alike, their message is clear: some battles are not worth fighting. In the endless arms race of evolution, the bullet ant has chosen pain as its shield, and it wields it with absolute authority. The wetland air trembles with the chorus of frogs, the drone of cicadas, and the faint ripple of wind across reeds. Over the still surface of the water, shadows flicker, rapid, stuttering blurs that vanish before the eye can fully register their form. Then, in an instant, a mosquito disappears from mid-air, snatched with a precision so sudden that it might as well have been erased from existence. The attacker does not linger. It banks sharply, wings humming in coordinated pairs, eyes locked onto the next target. This is the hawker dragonfly, one of nature's most accomplished aerial predators, a hunter whose strategies have been likened to the algorithms that guide fighter jets. To appreciate the dragonfly's mastery, one must understand the unique structure of its vision. Each compound eye contains tens of thousands of ommatidia, tiny units that each capture a sliver of the visual field. Together, they provide near panoramic coverage, stretching across 360 degrees. Unlike human eyes, which rely on sharp focus in a narrow field, the dragonfly perceives a broad sweep of its environment, attuned especially to motion. This ability is complemented by a flicker fusion rate, the speed at which the brain can process flashes of light, that is among the highest in the animal kingdom. Where humans perceive about 60 flashes per second before they blur into continuity, dragonflies process several hundred. To them, the world slows down, each wing beat of prey captured in crisp detail. But seeing prey is not enough. Catching it requires anticipation. Dragonflies employ a strategy known as interception rather than pursuit. Instead of trailing behind their prey, they calculate the trajectory and adjust their own flight path to intercept, keeping the prey's image fixed in the same position within their retina. This neural algorithm mirrors that used in guided missiles and fighter aircraft. Rather than chasing where the target is, the dragonfly aims for where it will be. The result is astonishing efficiency. Prey may dart and weave, but the dragonfly adjusts seamlessly, altering its angle with microsecond precision. In laboratory studies, hawker dragonflies have demonstrated success rates exceeding 90%, an achievement unmatched by most predators of any size. The mechanics of flight underpin this hunting success. Unlike most insects, dragonflies have two pairs of wings that can operate independently. By phasing the wing beats, moving forewings and hindwings slightly out of sync, they generate torque and thrust that allow abrupt changes in direction. They can hover like a helicopter, surge forward in a straight sprint, or pivot sideways in mid-air. The coordination of these wings allows them to accelerate explosively or slow to near stillness, maintaining stability even in turbulent wind. Thermoregulation is achieved through flight itself. Rapid wing movement generates heat, enabling activity even in cooler conditions when other insects are grounded. For a hunter that relies on speed, staying airborne across a range of temperatures is vital. The dragonfly's efficiency is not limited to adults. From egg to larva to imago, each stage of its life is marked by predation. Eggs are laid in or near water, hatching into aquatic nymphs that spend months, sometimes years, beneath the surface. These larvae are predators in their own right, equipped with a hinged, extendable jaw called a labium. Hidden beneath the head, it can shoot forward in a fraction of a second to seize tadpoles, mosquito larvae, or small fish. The transition from water to air during metamorphosis is not a change in lifestyle, but an expansion of it. Dragonflies are predators from beginning to end, dominating whichever environment they occupy. The ecological impact of this predatory efficiency is immense. By consuming mosquitoes, dragonflies regulate populations that otherwise would surge unchecked, influencing the dynamics of disease vectors such as malaria or dengue fever. Their presence in wetlands signals ecosystem health. Dragonflies are sensitive to water quality, and their abundance reflects the integrity of aquatic habitats. In turn, they become prey for birds, amphibians, and larger insects, forming a crucial link in the food web. To watch a dragonfly hunt is not only to admire its skill, but also to witness a balancing act that shapes the entire ecological community. Aerial hunting at such success rates raises intriguing questions about the neural machinery that makes it possible. Dragonfly brains, though small, contain specialized neurons dedicated to motion detection and target tracking. Research has revealed target-selective descending neurons that lock onto a single prey item, filtering out background clutter even in a swarm. Once a target is selected, the neuron maintains its focus, updating trajectory continuously until capture. This selective attention parallels cognitive processes once thought to be limited to larger vertebrate brains, illustrating how evolution sculpts complex solutions even within the constraints of small nervous systems. The hunting sequence itself is cinematic. A dragonfly hovers silently, scanning the airspace ahead. A gnat drifts into view. In less than a blink, the dragonfly launches forward, forewings and hindwings angling in a perfect rhythm. Its head swivels, eyes locked, while its legs form a basket-like trap beneath the body. At the moment of interception, the prey is scooped into this basket, wings folding inward as mandibles deliver the finishing bite. The dragonfly consumes its prey mid-air, discarding wings and husks that fall gently into the water below. The entire process, from detection to digestion, may last only a few seconds, yet behind it lies a cascade of finely tuned adaptations working in harmony. What distinguishes the hawker dragonfly from other predators is not only efficiency, but adaptability. Hunting strategies vary with conditions. On clear, sunlit days, they patrol open airspaces, engaging prey in fast, direct flights. In shaded understories, they slow their pace, weaving through vegetation with precision. During cooler hours, they bask on reeds, raising body temperature through solar heat before taking flight. This integration of sensory input, physiology, and behavior ensures that they remain formidable across changing environments. Even reproduction ties back to aerial mastery. Males patrol territories above ponds or streams, intercepting rivals with the same precision they use against prey. Courtship often occurs in flight, with males clasping females using specialized claspers at the tip of the abdomen. Fertilization is followed by oviposition near water, restarting the cycle of predatory nymphs. In every stage, the dragonfly demonstrates a life defined not by chance, but by calculated precision. From an evolutionary perspective, dragonflies are ancient survivors. Fossil relatives dating back hundreds of millions of years boasted wingspans exceeding 2 feet, dominating prehistoric skies long before birds or bats appeared. Modern species, though smaller, carry the same blueprint of aerial predation refined over epochs. Their survival across mass extinctions and climatic shifts speaks to the robustness of their design. The hawker dragonfly is not a relic, but a perfected descendant, wielding ancient strategies in modern ecosystems. As the sun dips lower, the wetland shimmers with activity. Swarms of midges rise from the water, forming clouds that seem impenetrable. Into this haze, dragonflies dart and weave, each individual tracing arcs invisible to the human eye. Prey vanish in rapid succession, plucked from the swarm with almost mechanical consistency. To witness this is to see the embodiment of efficiency in motion, a predator that succeeds not through brute force or sheer numbers, but through mastery of sensory biology and physics. In the vast spectrum of predator-prey relationships, the hawker dragonfly occupies a rare position, an insect whose hunting success rivals the apex predators of land and sea. Its strength lies not in power but in calculation, not in endurance but in precision. It does not chase blindly, it intercepts. It does not rely on luck, but on algorithms encoded in neurons long before humans wrote equations to guide machines. In the quiet wetlands, as dusk falls and mosquitoes rise, the dragonfly remains an unchallenged aerial assassin, its dominance carved from speed, vision, and evolutionary time. The midday sun turns the landscape into a wavering mirage. Heat radiates upward from pale sand, warping the air into shimmering ribbons that blur the horizon. Few creatures venture onto this exposed stage in such punishing conditions. Yet slicing across the glare is a flash of metallic green, iridescent and quick, legs moving in a blur too fast for the eye to follow. In a series of abrupt surges, the insect sprints, halts, then surges again. This is the tiger beetle, among the fastest runners in the insect world, a predator whose hunting technique is so extreme that it quite literally outruns its own vision. The speed of a tiger beetle is astonishing in scale. Some species cover more than 2 body lengths in a single stride, reaching speeds that, relative to body size, make them among the fastest land animals on Earth. To a human observer, its movement is a series of staccato bursts, a blur of motion, an instant of stillness, another blur. This peculiar rhythm is not hesitation but necessity. When sprinting at full pace, the beetle's compound eyes cannot process images quickly enough to keep track of its prey. The world becomes a smear of light and shadow, a blackout of perception caused by the limits of visual processing. To overcome this, the beetle sprints in bursts, freezes to reacquire visual focus, and then launches forward again. It is a stop-start style of predation, one that blends speed with recalibration, producing an efficiency that is both brutal and effective. The prey it targets, small flies, ants, and other ground-dwelling insects, rarely escape once detected. The beetle's mandibles are long, curved, and scissor-like, snapping shut with force sufficient to pierce exoskeletons. Once caught, the prey is subdued in seconds, shredded by jaws that have earned the beetle its predatory name. This ferocity is paired with sensory sensitivity. Even slight vibrations on sand or the flicker of movement in peripheral vision can trigger pursuit. Combined with sheer speed, these traits make the tiger beetle a terror to any insect sharing its habitat. The physiology behind such performance reveals adaptations tailored to extremes. The legs of tiger beetles are unusually long, elevating the body above the scorching surface. This extension reduces direct heat transfer from the sand while allowing efficient stride length. Each sprint is powered by muscles that occupy a significant portion of the thorax, converting chemical energy into mechanical force with remarkable efficiency. Yet speed carries costs. High exertion generates heat quickly, and in the desert or open savanna, overheating can be lethal. Tiger beetles manage this through behavior as much as physiology. They shade hop, moving rapidly between sunlit ground and patches of shade created by rocks, plants, or terrain. During pauses, they lift their bodies higher or stand still to release heat into the air. In cooler parts of the day, they hunt with less restraint, but under the peak sun, their activity becomes a careful balance between chasing prey and avoiding thermal collapse. The limits of their speed expose one of evolution's intriguing compromises. The very adaptations that make them extraordinary hunters also create vulnerabilities. Vision blackout during sprints could, in theory, leave them open to ambush. Yet they mitigate this through their burst strategy, minimizing blind intervals while maximizing pursuit efficiency. Predators such as birds or lizards may target tiger beetles, but their agility combined with explosive acceleration makes them difficult to catch. Thus, their predatory lifestyle has shaped not only how they hunt, but how they themselves evade becoming prey. The story of the tiger beetle does not begin with the adult sprinting across sand. Beneath the surface, hidden in vertical burrows, the larval stage unfolds a different kind of hunting strategy. Tiger beetle larvae are ambush predators, constructing pits or tunnels from which they strike with lightning speed. Their bodies are armored, with large mandibles ready to seize unsuspecting insects that wander too close. Anchored within their burrows by hooks on their backs, they lunge upward, drag prey inside, and consume it out of sight. This subterranean existence can last months or even years, depending on species and climate, before metamorphosis transforms them into the sprinting hunters above ground. Thus, from juvenile to adult, the tiger beetle embodies two contrasting predatory styles. the patient ambush of the larva, and the high-speed chase of the imago. The ecological role of tiger beetles is significant. As apex predators in the microcosm of ground-level arthropods, they regulate populations of smaller insects, preventing outbreaks that could otherwise alter plant communities or nutrient cycles. Their sensitivity to habitat conditions makes them valuable bioindicators. Ecologists study their presence and abundance to assess ecosystem health. Declines in tiger beetle populations often signal habitat degradation, from the erosion of riverbanks to the compaction of soils by human activity. Conversely, thriving populations reflect landscapes where natural cycles of disturbance, vegetation, and prey availability remain intact. The diversity of tiger beetles is itself a story of adaptation. Found on every continent except Antarctica, they inhabit environments ranging from coastal dunes to forest edges and riverbeds. Some display brilliant metallic hues, emerald, sapphire, copper, while others wear cryptic browns and greys that blend seamlessly with sand or leaf litter. These colors serve multiple functions. Iridescence can scatter light in confusing patterns, making it harder for predators to detect, while duller tones provide camouflage in uniform habitats. This variation underscores the evolutionary pressures of local environments, shaping not just behavior but appearance. In many regions, tiger beetles live at the edge of thermal possibility. On sun-baked sands, surface temperatures may rise to levels lethal for most insects. Here, the beetle's long legs and shade-hopping strategies are not optional, but essential. Some species exhibit behavioral thermoregulation so precise that they time their hunts to coincide with brief windows when sand is warm enough to energize prey, but not so hot as to disable their own physiology. Others exploit microhabitats, slopes with different sun angles or soils of contrasting reflectivity that create temperature gradients across short distances. This fine-scale adaptation illustrates how life negotiates extremes, surviving not by resisting environment outright, but by weaving behavior into the rhythms of climate and terrain. The combination of speed and vision, while extraordinary, also invites a degree of irony. The tiger beetle, with its blistering acceleration, cannot see well enough at top speed to fully control its hunt. Yet rather than rendering the adaptation useless, evolution has fashioned a solution in rhythm and restraint. Sprint, pause, sprint again. The pattern is both limitation and strength, a choreography of compromise that proves lethally effective. This interplay between sensory biology and physical performance exemplifies the broader principle that evolution crafts not perfection, but sufficiency. Solutions that function well enough in context to persist across generations. As evening falls and the sand cools, tiger beetles grow more active. Freed from the constraints of heat, they sprint with greater frequency, weaving across open ground in search of prey. The metallic sheen of their bodies reflects the fading light, glinting briefly before disappearing into shadow. In these hours, they dominate the microcosm of the sand plain, predators whose presence shapes the behavior and abundance of countless smaller insects. When the night grows too cool, they retreat to burrows or sheltered crevices, conserving energy until the cycle of sun and heat resumes. The tiger beetle's story is one of extremes: unmatched speed, constrained vision, delicate balances of heat and energy, and a life that spans both hidden burrows and blazing surfaces. From larval ambush to adult pursuit, its strategies embody the ingenuity of natural selection, crafting predators that thrive not by sheer force, but by mastering timing, rhythm, and adaptation. In a landscape where survival is measured in fractions of seconds and degrees of heat, the tiger beetle endures a paradox of power, too fast to see, yet fast enough to kill. The forest is hushed in late afternoon light. Shafts of sun angle through the canopy, striking a patch of foliage where nothing seems unusual. Leaves, twigs, shadows layered in their familiar arrangement. Yet within this stillness, one figure is alive, though nearly indistinguishable from its surroundings. A twig appears to breathe. A leaf shifts just slightly against the breeze. When a fly drifts too close, the illusion dissolves in a single violent instant. Two forelegs snap upward in a blur so fast that even high-speed cameras struggle to capture it. In less than the blink of a human eye, the fly is impaled, clasped tightly by spined arms designed not for walking, but for killing. This is the raptorial strike of the praying mantis, an ambush perfected by evolution, executed in milliseconds and almost always fatal. The arms that define the mantis are extraordinary modifications of the basic insect foreleg. Folded beneath the body like a monk's hands in prayer, they conceal a series of barbed spines lining the femur and tibia. When triggered, these legs snap shut with mechanical efficiency, locking prey in a cage of thorns. Strike speeds vary by species, but many complete the motion in less than 1/20th of a second, too fast for prey to react. Once trapped, escape is rare. Muscles hold with unyielding force while mandibles begin the slow work of dismantling the victim. Unlike predators that rely on venom or constriction, the mantis succeeds through sheer speed and grip, turning precision into power. Camouflage is the other half of its strategy. Mantises rarely pursue prey over distances. They wait, hidden, until a target strays into range. To succeed, their disguises must be impeccable. Across species, mantises mimic twigs, bark, dead leaves, fresh foliage, even flowers. Some species bear lobed extensions on their legs that resemble leaf margins, complete with false veins and blotches that mimic fungal spots. Others are brown and rough, blending seamlessly with bark, while tropical varieties masquerade as blossoms, luring pollinators close enough to strike. These disguises are not mere coloration, but structural adaptations, sculpted over evolutionary time to deceive both predator and prey. Yet camouflage has limits. When discovered by larger threats, birds, reptiles, or even mammals, mantises deploy an entirely different defense, the diamatic display. Forelegs spread wide, wings flare open, and suddenly the insect appears larger, more menacing than its size suggests. Many species reveal hidden eye spots or patches of contrasting color on the wings, startling predators long enough for escape. This bluff works because predators are primed to avoid eyes, associating them with vigilance and danger. Even if the mantis is harmless compared to true venomous creatures, the illusion of threat often secures survival. Thus, mantises operate in dual modes: invisibility until detection, intimidation when concealment fails. Underlying these strategies is an unusual sensory adaptation. Unlike most insects, which rely primarily on monocular vision and wide-angle detection, mantises possess a form of stereoscopic vision. Their large, forward-facing compound eyes overlap in field, allowing depth perception. This ability, rare among insects, is crucial for an ambush predator that must judge distances with extraordinary accuracy. A miscalculated strike wastes energy and risks revealing position. By triangulating depth, mantises ensure that their raptorial arms land precisely where intended. The head itself contributes to this precision. Mantises are among the few insects capable of swiveling their heads side to side, enhancing spatial awareness. This mobility, combined with stereovision, gives them a perspective closer to that of vertebrate predators than typical insects. The ecological role of mantises is complex. As generalist predators, they consume a wide variety of arthropods, flies, beetles, grasshoppers, and even other mantises. Their appetite makes them valuable controllers of insect populations, but their indiscriminate feeding also includes pollinators and beneficial species. In agricultural systems, mantises are sometimes introduced as natural pest control, though their lack of selectivity means the results are mixed. In ecosystems, however, their role as mid-level predators is critical. They influence the abundance of herbivores, indirectly shaping plant communities, while also serving as prey for larger animals. They are both regulators and regulated, woven into the food web with balance that prevents any single role from dominating. One of the most discussed aspects of mantis biology is reproduction, often portrayed with sensationalism: sexual cannibalism. While not universal among species, it occurs frequently enough to have evolutionary significance. During mating, the female may decapitate or consume the male, either during copulation or immediately after. To human sensibilities, this appears grotesque, but in ecological terms, it carries dividends. By consuming the male, the female gains a nutrient boost that enhances egg production and survival of offspring. From the male's perspective, his genes have already been passed on. His sacrifice increases the success of his progeny. This balance between reproduction and survival demonstrates natural selection's lack of sentiment. What persists is what works. Interestingly, studies have shown that males sometimes approach cautiously, attempting to mate from behind the female's line of sight, suggesting behavioral adaptations to reduce the risk of cannibalism. Whether successful or not, the ritual underscores the costs and strategies inherent in reproduction for a species defined by predation. The mantis's hunting success also raises questions of energy economics. Unlike constant foragers such as ants or dragonflies, mantises rely on patience. Hours may pass without movement, conserving energy until opportunity arrives. This sit-and-wait strategy is efficient in environments where prey density is high enough to reward stillness, but variable enough that pursuit would be wasteful. The trade-off is vulnerability during long waits. While their camouflage protects them from many threats, they remain exposed to specialized predators like birds or parasitic wasps. Once again, the mantis embodies compromise, supreme efficiency in ambush balanced by exposure in stillness. Beyond their ecological roles, mantises captivate human attention because they blur lines of perception. Their upright posture, triangular heads and swiveling eyes give them an air of awareness uncommon among insects. To observers, they seem to watch, to contemplate, to calculate. This anthropomorphic impression has led cultures across the world to assign mantises symbolic meaning, from patience and prayer to cunning and death. Yet behind these cultural layers lies a straightforward biological truth. Every movement is guided not by thought in the human sense, but by instinct, honed through natural selection to perfection. From an evolutionary perspective, mantises belong to an ancient lineage, with relatives appearing in the fossil record over 100 million years ago. Their persistence speaks to the effectiveness of their design. Over time, variations in camouflage, strike speed and behavior have diversified across hundreds of species, each adapted to local habitats. From tropical rainforests to temperate gardens, mantises thrive wherever prey is abundant and vegetation offers cover. Their evolutionary success underscores the power of ambush as a survival strategy, one that requires neither swarms nor venom, but only stillness, patience, and speed at the moment of truth. As twilight settles over the forest, a mantis perches motionless on a branch, silhouetted against fading light. A moth flutters past, drawn to the first glow of night flowers. The mantis turns its head slightly, eyes tracking depth with uncanny focus. The strike comes and is over before the moth has time to register danger. Spined arms snap shut, and the evening returns to stillness. In this brief, violent moment, the cycle repeats. Patience rewarded, prey subdued, predator sustained. The praying mantis is not merely a predator, it is a distillation of ecological principles. It embodies the efficiency of ambush, the power of precision, and the compromises of reproduction. It reveals how evolution shapes not perfection but sufficiency, structures and behaviors that, though sometimes brutal, endure because they succeed. In the quiet of the understory among twigs and leaves, it waits, invisible until it is not. Then, in a flash measured in milliseconds, it reminds the living world that survival often belongs to those who strike first and strike fast. A bee settles onto a sunlit twig, its striped body catching the warm glow of the afternoon. The scene is ordinary, almost comforting, another pollinator resting between foraging flights. Yet something is amiss. The posture is different, the angles sharper, the pause more deliberate. Before suspicion can settle, the bee launches upward, intercepting a passing insect mid-air with astonishing precision. The capture is swift and brutal. Hooked legs seize the victim, and a long, rigid proboscis pierces its exoskeleton. In seconds, the prey goes limp. This is not a bee at all, but a robber fly, an apex assassin of the insect world, perfected by a strategy of disguise and armed with one of nature's most efficient predatory tools. Robber flies, or Acylidae, include hundreds of species, and among them the giant robber flies stand out both for their size and for their hunting prowess. Many mimic bees or wasps in coloration and body shape, a form of aggressive mimicry that serves a dual purpose. To potential prey, the resemblance creates familiarity, allowing the robber fly to approach without raising alarm. To would-be predators, such as birds or lizards, the mimicry suggests danger, discouraging attacks from animals that have learned to avoid stinging hymenopterans. It is a deception refined not only for survival, but also for predation, a cloak that conceals true intent until the moment of strike. The weapon at the heart of this deception is the proboscis, a needle-like extension evolved into a hypodermic syringe. Upon capture, the robber fly drives this structure into its victim's body, injecting a cocktail of neurotoxic and proteolytic enzymes. The neurotoxins act quickly, paralyzing muscles and shutting down escape reflexes. The digestive enzymes follow, breaking down tissues into liquid form. Within moments, the prey's insides are reduced to a nutrient-rich broth, which the robber fly siphons back through the same proboscis. It is a method of consumption as efficient as it is macabre. Prey is subdued, liquefied, and drained in a seamless sequence, leaving behind only the empty shell of what once was. Such weaponry demands precision in delivery, and robber flies excel in aerial combat. Their hunting workflow begins not in flight, but in stillness. Perched on a twig, stalk, or rock, they survey their surroundings with immense compound eyes, each eye comprising thousands of ommatidia. These eyes grant near-spherical vision and remarkable acuity, enabling them to detect the faintest flicker of movement in 3 dimensions. Once a target is selected, the robber fly calculates an intercept course, often adjusting for sun angle to approach from a direction that leaves the prey silhouetted. This choice of angle is no accident. By striking against the glare, the fly reduces the chance of being detected until it is too late. When the attack begins, the robber fly launches in a ballistic arc, legs extended forward to seize the target. Unlike the relentless chasers of dragonflies, robber flies employ shorter, explosive pursuits. The capture occurs within a few meters, with momentum carrying both predator and prey downward. The hooked tarsi ensure that the victim cannot wriggle free, and the proboscis is driven in almost immediately. The entire sequence, from takeoff to paralysis, often unfolds in less than a second. This efficiency allows robber flies to take prey larger than themselves, including grasshoppers, beetles, and even other predatory insects. The energy demands of such a lifestyle are considerable. Robber flies are obligate carnivores, and their metabolism requires regular protein intake. Unlike nectar-feeding bees, which can store reserves of energy as carbohydrate, robber flies must hunt frequently to sustain flight and reproduction. Their predatory efficiency reflects this demand. Failure to capture prey regularly would lead quickly to starvation. Thus, their hunting strategy is not only effective but necessary, a balance of speed, accuracy, and chemical weaponry that ensures survival in a competitive aerial ecosystem. Their ecological role is profound. As generalist predators, robber flies exert pressure on a wide range of insect populations, from pollinators to pests. This influence cascades through ecosystems, regulating herbivorous insects that might otherwise overconsume vegetation, while simultaneously affecting pollination networks by reducing the numbers of bees, butterflies, and flies. In this sense, they are both stabilizers and disruptors, shaping community dynamics by their presence. Their mimicry adds another layer of complexity, blurring the lines between predator and pollinator, deception and reality. A meadow buzzing with bees may in fact harbor assassins disguised in familiar colors, their presence unnoticed until prey disappears. Thermal ecology also plays a role in their daily rhythm. Robber flies are most active in warm sunlight, their flight muscles requiring elevated temperatures for peak performance. They bask on rocks or twigs, orienting their bodies to maximize solar absorption before hunting. At high midday temperatures, their predation peaks, coinciding with the abundance of other flying insects. In cooler conditions, their activity slows, forcing reliance on basking or retreat to sheltered perches. This thermoregulation shapes not only when they hunt, but where they are found, with many species favoring open habitats such as grasslands, forest edges, and deserts where sun exposure is reliable. From an evolutionary perspective, robber flies exemplify convergence. Their aerial predation, mimicry, and weaponry parallel strategies seen in unrelated groups. Their bee-like disguises echo the protective coloration of hoverflies, their ballistic hunting mirrors aspects of dragonfly pursuit, and their venomous injection resembles the tactics of predatory spiders. Yet robber flies combine these traits into a unique synthesis, one that has persisted for tens of millions of years. Fossilized relatives show that their basic body plan has remained consistent since at least the Eocene, a testament to the enduring success of their strategy. Even their larvae reflect this predatory lineage. Hidden in soil or decaying wood, robber fly larvae are predators themselves, consuming soft-bodied insects such as beetle grubs or maggots. Their subterranean lifestyle contrasts with the aerial dominance of the adults, yet both stages are united by reliance on predation. By exploiting both soil and sky, robber flies integrate multiple ecological layers, influencing life above and below ground. For all their brutality, robber flies remain vulnerable to their own predators. Birds, reptiles, and even other robber flies occasionally take them as prey. Their mimicry reduces risk, but does not eliminate it. Their strategy, like all evolutionary adaptations, is a compromise, sufficient to persist across time, but not invulnerable. Yet the balance they strike, deceptive appearance, lightning assault, chemical mastery, places them among the most formidable insect hunters alive today. As the camera lingers on a sunlit meadow, the buzz of bees becomes suspect. One figure rests on a twig, its striped body gleaming in gold and black. It waits motionless, head tilted, compound eyes glinting with 1,000 lenses. A butterfly passes too close. In a blink, the assassin launches, seizes, injects, and lands again, prey subdued before the viewer can even track the sequence. The disguise holds, the deception continues, and the ecosystem shifts subtly under the weight of one more successful kill. The giant robber fly is more than a mimic or a hunter. It is a demonstration of evolution's ability to refine deception into dominance. It thrives not through strength alone, nor through speed alone, but through the marriage of illusion and lethality. To watch it hunt is to see a performance of efficiency, a reminder that in nature, appearances often conceal realities more dangerous than they seem. The bee on the twig may not be a bee at all, but an assassin cloaked in borrowed stripes, waiting patiently for its next victim to wander into view.